For the next 7 days, I'm going to be giving you guys tips related to practicing. So many students out there get overwhelmed by exactly how to practice, what do I do next, am I doing the right things while practicing, what exactly do I practice? So we're going to be covering that in this series, and we're going to start today by talking about scales. So scales aren't always the funnest thing to practice, and I would say some of my students are not always cheerful about doing them, but they're so helpful for building intonation as far as your fingers landing in the right spots consistently, which is ultimately going to translate into your song sounding that much better. So if you've never done scales before, I want you to write down these 3 scales that are really good to know at the beginner level. The first one is D major. D major starts on the D string. If you do just 1 octave, it's going to go to the 3rd finger on the A string. Now don't do it that fast, but I'm going to go through these quick so I can get to the next concepts. G major is 2 octaves, which means basically 2 sets of notes. Like on the piano, you have 1 set of notes and then you have the next set. G major 2 octaves is also a great scale. So you should really master that. Next is C major, which actually has low 2nd fingers instead of high 2nd fingers. It's low, so that's a great scale to master. If you were more intermediate, you would go up maybe another octave to... That would require shifting. So if you're an intermediate player, other scales like A major with 3 sharps, or getting into flats like B flat major is a great scale. A flat major, E flat major, all great. I have a resource I could send you guys that has basically all the scales in 1, 2, and 3 octaves. I can send that to you guys. Just email me at michael@superiorviolins.com. I would love to communicate with you guys and send you that link to that resource. So what I recommend with scales is making sure that you guys use the whole bow. I see all the time students work on scales like this. Like that. And what that does is it forces you to not have to actually work on the right hand as far as having that good technique, bending those fingers, extending that bow arm, bending the wrist coming back. These are all things that are really important to practice with scales, and if you're not using the whole bow, you're going to have a hard time. So let's just do 1 scale exactly how I would do it. I'm going to take the C major scale. So it starts on 3rd finger on the G string, and we're going to use the whole bow and go about this pace. Go back down as well. And what I recommend when you guys practice your scale today for day 1, really try to focus in on some of your bad habits. Now if you don't know what your bad habits are, then I would recommend also asking for my checklist, which covers like 30 different things that you could be doing right or wrong on the violin. And I would focus on one of those things. It could be that maybe you're gripping the bow too tight. It could be that you're not having your wrist bent properly as you're playing the violin. It could be that your knuckles aren't up high enough. It could be that your thumb is really stiff while you're playing instead of being curved. It could be that your pinky is stiff instead of being relaxed. These are all things that easily can happen, and working on scales is the perfect place to work on these techniques. So try to focus in and think about those things as you're practicing. I would recommend for this week, say, focusing in on maybe 1 or 2 bad habits. Normally after a week or 2, you'll really start to see some improvements and ultimately feel more confident. Thank you so much for watching. Tomorrow we're going to be covering some more things with scales, as well as getting into the next step of how to get a really effective practice session with etudes and just having the right mindset. Please send your comments here on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, I highly encourage you guys to join some of our groups that we have going on. If you're interested in any of my adult learning group, my fiddling group, email me as well, michael@superiorviolins.com. Have a great day, guys.